name is Diep, and today I want to tell you a story, not as a witness from afar, but as someone who has lived quietly inside.
We are going in.
Breathing its joys and its wounds every single day. It is a story about love, family, and the painful spaces where silence grows between people who care too much and speak too little. In a house that had grown quiet with time, a silence heavier than words settled between two people who had shared 20 years of life together. One morning, in a voice gentle but edged with doubt, the woman asked her husband whether he was hiding something from her. It was not a sudden question, but one shaped by unease, by money that disappeared too quickly, by investments explained in half sentences, and by their son James, who had been away for far too long. The man insisted that James was merely busy overseas, delayed by work and distractions, yet the distance felt deeper than miles. The woman spoke of age and time slipping away, of how truth mattered more now than comfort. And when she described a dream in which James struggled against another man, pulling on the same rope until he was pushed down into the mud, fear took root in her heart. Her husband brushed it off as imagination, but she could not ignore the feeling that the dream was a warning. She told him plainly that if their son had been harmed and the truth was hidden from her, she would leave, not out of anger, but out of a mother's broken trust. While doubt and secrecy filled that home, life continued elsewhere, where I lived with little NHI. In a small, warm place shaped by routine and care. I was not her birth mother, but I cooked for her, guided her studies, wiped away her tears, and listened when she asked the questions only children dare to ask. She missed James and wondered if he stayed away because she was not good enough. And each time she said it, my heart tightened. I told her that adults carry complicated lives, that sometimes promises break not because love fades, but because people are lost inside their own struggles. One day, while talking about what it meant to be a good child, NHI looked at me with innocent clarity and asked why James and I could not find a solution together. And in that moment I realized how often children see truths adults refuse to face. Our days passed with simple work, harvesting fruit under the sun, stacking crates, counting modest earnings, sharing meals that tasted of effort and care, and yet beneath that simplicity, something fragile was trembling. James returned not as a man with answers, but as someone torn apart by choices. He carried the weight of a son caught between justice and blood, knowing his father was moving against my company, driven by resentment and control. Once, James had been determined to expose his father, to gather evidence and let the law speak. But time and love weakened his resolve. His mother's pain, my vulnerability, and his own conflicted heart made every decision feel like a betrayal of someone he loved. A friend advised him that perhaps the bravest path was not revenge, but confrontation, to sit down, speak honestly, and ask why hatred had grown so deep. James listened, but he knew he could not stand before me yet, not with wounds still open between us. Instead, he asked his friend to come to me, to warn me of the danger ahead, to stay close and protect me if things turned dark, while he remained hidden, believing distance might shield me better than his presence. As night fell, I watched NHI sleep, her breathing calm and trusting, unaware of the threats quietly forming around us. And I understood then that family is not defined only by blood, but by those who stay, who choose care over fear, and who hold on even when everything feels close to falling apart. And James, standing between the shadows of his past and the uncertain light of what might come next, finally understood that love and family are not gentle gifts handed to us freely, but difficult choices that demand courage, sacrifice, and the strength to face loss before hope can ever be born again.